Hi everyone, this week's Parsha is Parshat Vayeshev. Now many of you know that I love reading Torah. I do, not only in my spare time, but from actually reading from the Torah itself. It's something I've been doing for years and I really enjoy. Now something that really sticks out to me from this week's Parsha is that in this week's Parsha we have one of the cantillations, one of the trups, the ta'amim, these symbols, in which it's called a shalshelet, and they only have it 4 times in the entire Torah, where it's you go a high note 3 times in a row, and it's very emphatic, and it definitely sticks out compared to the rest of the reading. And the context of that shalshelet, this big rare trup in this week's parsha, comes in the story of Yosef with the Eshet Potiphar, the wife of Potiphar, the priest, this Egyptian priest. And essentially what happens is Eshet Potiphar, the wife of Potiphar, is trying to seduce Yosef, and after a while there's a good moment and they're alone, and she tries to seduce him in that moment. And he says this word, Vayima'en, which essentially means no, and on that word, Vayima'en, we have this special trup, the shalshelet. Now, what's the function of the shalshelet here? Well, it's pointed out by some of the commentaries, the Rabbeinu Bechaye, who points out, and he says, we have this emphatic trup here to show that Yosef said no, but very passionately, very surely, he said no, right? Emphatically, exactly. That's the right word to use. He said very passionately, no, I'm not doing this. Now, in contrast, I heard from my Rebbe that in the name of a sefer, a book written by Rav Yosef Ibn Tibbon a few hundred years ago, who explains the use of this trup a little bit differently. So just for us to understand this view, 4 times the shalshelet, this trup, is used in the Torah, 3 in Bereshit, the first of the 5 books of the Torah, and 1 in Vayikra, happens to be my bar mitzvah parsha, Parshat Tzav. And the other 2 times in Sefer Bereshit, in the book of Genesis, one comes up with Lot as he's leaving Sodom before it becomes destroyed, and the other comes up with Eliezer as he is going to get Rivka to come marry Yitzchak. And the context behind those 2 other times is by Lot. Right? Lot had a choice to make, a very important decision. Should he leave his house and everything he's built in Sodom and leave with these angels, right? And by Eliezer, he also finds himself in a dilemma. Should he go get Rivka to go marry Yitzchak, or as many commentators and Chazal point out, or Eliezer was also thinking, should he marry his own daughter off to Yitzchak? So he was also at a big crossroad here. And again, by Yosef, he's at a big crossroads here. Should he give in to the seduction of the wife of Potiphar, or should he stick to his values and end up getting thrown in jail? Right? All with very important yet difficult scenarios to navigate, all 3 times in Bereshit. And the trup itself looks like a zigzag. So it looks like this, and then like that, and then like that, and then like that. That's how the cantillation looks in the books, not in the Torah. There's no cantillation actually in the Torah. But Rav Yosef points out that the actual structure, the way that this cantillation looks, is supposed to mimic their thought process. Should I do it? Should I not do it? Should I do it? Should I not do it? Right? They're all making very important decisions here. And I think something beautiful really from us to learn from all these instances, but especially in this week's Parsha, is when tasked with doing something that would give you enjoyment and pleasure in the moment versus long-term gain and long-term success, we see in all 3 cases, all 3 characters, Lot, Eliezer, and Yosef, all choose long-term success over success or pleasure in the moment. I wouldn't call it success in the moment. And for all of us, now I was wondering, why doesn't this come up in other instances, like when Abraham is tasked with this Lech Lecha, right? Go leave your family. There's no shalshelet over there. Why not? Maybe there's some messianic context here, like it's a whole other thing to go into, but by Lot, because he chooses to leave, He obviously gives off offspring with his daughters, which is another story we've spoken about in the past. And Mashiach, the Messiah, ends up coming as a descendant from one of his daughters. By Eliezer, by having Yitzchak marry Rivka, that ends up causing the whole Jewish line. And also by Yosef in this week's Parsha, by him not giving into the seduction of the wife of Potiphar, he ends up getting thrown in jail, and then we get the Jews' whole story in Egypt. So anyway, that aside, we could go into that in much longer at a different time. My bracha to everyone this week is when we find ourselves in that shalshelet moment where we're going back and forth, should we do it, should we not do it? We should always try to choose the long-term success over the in-the-moment pleasure. And with that, I wish you all a Shabbat Shalom.